This afternoon, I'm going to do something I've meant to do for some time and start um, relating some of my early medical experiences. It actually goes back to when I was less than 10 years old. This is the third time I've started this dictation, and something's happened each time. Either I got confused or the telephone rang or whatever. Anyhow, I want to start by relating some of my early medical experiences. And I think I go back to when I was less than 10 years old. And at that time, my father had a grocery store on Broadway in the non-Jewish business area. And we had a truck, and I was less than 10 years old. And on Slichus, that is the Jewish celebration, that we go to the synagogue at midnight, and on the Saturday before Yom Kippur. And at any rate, uh, my father had to drive because we were a long distance from the synagogue. So naturally, we parked a couple blocks away because it's a shanda that we should drive. Anyhow, it happened that that particular night I had a bellyache, and I do remember it actually. I was not well, and my parents went to the shul, and they went to the services at midnight, and I stayed in the truck and kvetched and was unhappy. Anyway, when they came back, I still felt ill, and went home. And if you can believe it, on Sunday morning, there was Sam Rosen, Dr. Sam Rosen. I had regular Sunday office hours. So my parents took me to Dr. Rosen and for my bellyache, and I was hospitalized. And I think with Dr. Maxiner was the surgeon, and I had my appendix out, and that was the beginning. Um, I'm thinking then, we'll stop here. Then when I'm in 1942, several things happened. One, in the same June of 72, two things happened. My father died of uh, cancer of the stomach, and I graduated high school. The last year of high school was not a very happy time. My father had been operated on for cancer of the stomach, and then I had, I guess, radiation, and after the surgery, I had radiation, and a lot of sort of medical problems. Ended up going to nursing homes, and then finally, I recall the scene very vividly. He's in the bed. Oh, he says he decides that he wants to die at home, and that's the scene I remember. He's in the bed, and I'm at the foot of the bed with my mother. My brother Lloyd is only 7 years old, and my father tells my mother, by all that's right, you're entitled to keep the grocery store. Actually, he had a very successful grocery store, and several years before, he had taken in a partner, Sidney Weinberg, as a full partner. No money in, but just shared expenses, etc., and considered to be a full partner. He tells my mother, by all that's right, you are entitled to keep the grocery store. And he says to her, you must sell it to Sydney, because if you take the grocery store, Moisha, that's me, will feel obligated to help you in the grocery store, and he won't go to college, and I want him to go to college. And that was vividly in my mind. But I really was oriented to that anyhow. But anyhow, it's interesting interlude. Um, then in the fall of 42 is when I entered college. Turned out that I my whole class, high school class, graduated January of '43. But interestingly enough, I received a semester's credit for attending Talmud Torah, and so I graduated ahead of my class. I graduated in the fall in September, or I graduated in June, but I entered college in September, and everything was an accelerated program. The war was on, and I don't remember. I took about 18 credits, and it was uh, rather intense, to say the least. At any rate, in the spring of '43, um, there was a problem because the medical schools were losing all of their students to the service with the draft, etc. And as a consequence, uh, you could apply for the September '44 for a year and a half away for the September '44 medical class, and I applied, and they did not have the all the testing. They had a lot of tests, but they were not the consolidated tests, the SCATs and all the other things that they have now. At any rate, I remember there was about two full days that we took all sorts of tests from all over. Anyhow, to make the long story short, I was accepted with the provision that I keep my grades up, of course. And as a matter of fact, I actually enlisted in the Army Enlisted Reserve Corps with uh, with the promise, as it were, that I would be called up in this new program called ASTP. I forgot the name for it, but anyhow, the ASTP program the Army sent people to college, and so I didn't register for the draft because I was in the Army Enlisted Reserve Corps and I would be called up, and I didn't get called up, and in the summer of '44, we were going to class, and uh, and I I was taking physical chemistry. Physical chemistry is mathematics applies to chemistry, and it's not my forte. I'm not very good at math. Anyhow, I studied that, and I always prided myself that I would study until I knew it, and this is really tough. And I finally just kind of memorized it without trying to really understand everything, and I figured if I got a C, I'd be overjoyed. And I got a B, and I was really very pleased. So happened there was a fellow, Stanley Troop, Babe Troop we call him, and his birth date is identical to mine, February 9th, 1925, and he was with me in our class. Anyhow, he got a D in physical chemistry, and would you believe it, that he was out of the medical school? That was it. He went into the service. Uh, Interestingly, I found out afterwards that a year or two later, he did come in to medical school and graduated. And not only did he graduate, but he subsequently became professor of pediatrics at the University of Minnesota. And I heard that he was the chancellor at Downstate University in New York or something. But I didn't follow him further from that. At any rate, so now I'm in the medical school in September of '44.